Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators to order for June 12th, 2024. Please rise as we're led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Legislator Phil Curran. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain upstanding as we're led in invocation by Legislator Dwight Fanton.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your blessings on the county and on our nation. We pray you'll be with those that are first responders, especially those that volunteer their time. We really appreciate what they do for us. Bless them. Be with our law enforcement and give them safety. Keep them safe in all ways that they do. And be with our military men and women. Just be with them and keep them safe for protecting us in these days that we are faced with. So we thank you for all you do for us, and we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you both. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mrs. Burdick. Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Sear. Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett. Here. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
Mr. Rumfeld.
Here.
Mr. Stockin. 14 present, 1 absent.
Thank you.
You are provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of May 22nd. At this time, we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Rumfeld, seconded by Legislator Hanchett. Any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And those are approved.
You're provided a copy of the board meeting minutes of May 22nd, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion by Legislator Fanton, seconded by Legislator Havey. Any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And those are approved.
You are also provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of June 5th, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Hanchett, seconded by Legislator Havey. Additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And those are approved. This time we will suspend our regular meeting and open a public hearing to hear public comment on our local law amending local law number 3 of the year 1993 and local law 1 of 2005, providing for a permanent plan of reapportionment for the Allegheny County Board of Legislators. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. I will remind everyone listening that we have another public hearing and a final public hearing for this particular local law scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight in these legislative chambers. So any of you who couldn't make it through the door because of the crowd to make comment today can come back tonight. Okay, this time I'd like to invite Lene Loring, Adult Services Supervisor, and her colleagues to join me up front, please. We're thankful for the opportunity to provide to them privilege of the floor today to discuss Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Welcome. Hi.
Hi.
The podium is yours, and if you would bear with me at the end, we have a proclamation.
Great. Hello, I'm Lene Loring, and I am the Supervisor for Adult Protective Services, Adult Services, and we're going to start with one of my workers, Andrew Fancher.
Good afternoon. Like she said, I'm Andrew Fancher. I'm a caseworker for Adult Protective Services with the Department of Social Services. June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, also known as WEAD, is June 15th. This year's theme is Building Strong Supports for Older Adults. Elder abuse is a largely hidden and growing problem in the United States. Elder abuse can include physical, sexual, emotional neglect, and financial exploitation. However, the most prevalent form of elder abuse is self-neglect. Self-neglect in older adults is poorly understood with public health implications. It is also the failure, inability, and resistance of an elderly person to provide for himself or herself one or more necessities essential for physical and emotional well-being, without which the elderly person would be unable to safely remain in the community. Self-neglect is frequently characterized by profound inattention to health and hygiene. Older adults who are not able to successfully care for themselves and refuse help or are unable to access help are at a tremendous risk of ill health and even death. Self-neglect among the elderly is a growing problem that commonly goes unreported. Some stats for Allegheny County. In 2023, Adult Protective Services received 180 referrals. 136 of these referrals were adults over 60 years old. And about 1/3 of the cases had allegations of abuse or neglect by another person. So far this year, from January 1st to May 31st, APS has received 100 referrals in total. 68 of the individuals were over 60, and about 1/3 of those cases have been allegations of abuse or neglect by another person. This represents a 25% increase over last year at this time. Adult Protective Services is an agency of last resort, meaning that our agency attempts to locate and make referrals to other agencies and services and or find community and family supports to address any issues which have led to our involvement. Next is Lenny.
Bear with me, I apologize. I'm going to speak about the collaborations that we have in Allegheny County. Many years ago, the service providers who serve Allegheny County recognized the need to pool our resources and work together to build strong supports for the older adults in our communities. To that end, several collaborations have been initiated through the years. Each of the collaborations has different goals and focuses. For example, the goal of making Allegheny County a safe and desirable place for individuals to grow older is met through two collaborations. Age-friendly Allegheny County is run by Ardent Solutions and focuses on livability and individual health and wellness. Community Partnership on Aging is run by Office for Aging, and it's a hub for the agencies and community partners to look at what we're seeing in our work with individuals and what we can do to address any concerns or needs. The goal of reducing and responding to exploitation is addressed both before and after exploitation or abuse has occurred. Triad, a collaboration of Allegheny County Sheriff's Department, New York State Police, and Office for Aging, gathers information within the community and takes the information back to the community. An example of this would be seeing a particular scam that's happening right now in our area and going out and warning others and being alert for that. The EMDT, which is the Elder Abuse Enhanced Multidisciplinary Team, is made up of professionals from various fields to discuss complex cases of elder abuse and create action plans to offer resources and services to the victim. And last but not least is elder abuse prevention. The wall is built with bricks with the names of the community agencies, businesses, and supports who are part of our elder abuse prevention collaboration. As you can see, when we move out of the way, it's actually, there's quite a few of them. They include local banks, law enforcement, and diverse agencies who provide services throughout our county. Each one plays an important role in supporting individuals in our community. Collaborating with community partners is crucial for effective elder abuse prevention. However, all the agencies in the world are not going to end elder abuse and self-neglect. Protecting the older adults in our families, neighborhood, and county takes everyone, including you and me. In an effort to get information into the community, the collaborations have already initiated several events and programs, such as WISE, which is Wellness Initiative for Senior Education. This is a program through ACASA, which educates seniors on substance misuse, addiction, their medications, and enhance quality of life. We've provided presentations and trainings to Alfred Police Department and housing units and are always looking for other opportunities to share information. Also, members of these collaborations have worked together and have created palm cards, which have crisis intervention numbers that we can just hand to someone. RAC cards, which about red flags of financial exploitation, rights and responsibilities of power of attorneys, and the differences between a power attorney and healthcare proxy. We have received grants that have assisted with the printing of these cards and the purchase of blackout stamps, which redact personal information on your paperwork at home. We have samples of these that you can take home with you in the back, along with a few other goodies, coasters that say Allegheny County, and pens. There are several upcoming events planned for the summer, fall, and that are ongoing. There are flyers for many of those in the back, and some examples of these events. Today, Anita Madison and Liddy Scott Loynes from Office for Aging are unable to be here because they're representing Allegheny County in a statewide World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Rochester. A tech support class for older adults class is going to be offered by Ardent Solutions on June 14th and 21st at the Family Resource Center in Wellsville. If you haven't been there, it's awesome. Ardent Solutions also holds community conversations and classes throughout the year in many locations around the county. See their website for more information. Upcoming mini conference themed community and relationship safety for older adults, which is sponsored by the Veterans Administration, is available for all members of the community on July 10th from 9 to 2 at Genesee Valley School. The always popular senior picnic is back on August 6th. Rain date is August 7th at the Fairgrounds in Angelica. A partnership between Ardent Solutions, Office for Aging, ACASA, and Alzheimer's Association is sponsoring a caregiver symposium to be held August 15th at Crosstown Alliance in Wellsville. The Senior Medicare Patrol is holding a senior safety summit on September 27th, 1 to 4, at a location to be announced. The Alzheimer Walk is October 5th at Jamestown Community College campus in Olean. And, very excited, Accord and Office for Aging have received a flex funds for victims of domestic violence. Now, Lynn Oyer, who is a care manager for caregivers through the Alzheimer's Association and Office for Aging, is going to share a case example which shows how, working together, we're able to build strong supports for an adult in our community.
They allowed me to pick what I wanted to talk about. I like to tell a story. So these blocks are wonderful to look at, but I want to share how it helped a woman become in a safe place. I started listing all the people that helped me with this lady, and there was 12 different agencies. So it's just really cool to know that there are people in the community looking out for each other. And I think the biggest thing I take out of this is that we need to listen and watch our neighbors and our friends. It all started when this lady had some memory concerns, but we didn't know that. She's calling for rides. And then we figured out that she's not understanding how the ride system works, and she calls quite often. And then she said she was very lonely, so she had an Office for the Aging friendly visitor volunteer. So the volunteers are the ones that alerted us that she's telling them stories about her family coming, and she keeps giving them money. So we're really concerned about this. Then the apartment, she lives in a big apartment complex, and the apartment manager notices that things are changing for her. And then the apartment handyman noticed the frequency of these family visitors more and more, and realize they're doing, I call it the grocery store scam, where they say they're going to go to the grocery store for her, get their own groceries, and bring her home Oreos or something. So basically, they were using her money. And then a call to APS happened, and they went out and offered help, and she didn't want it. So we have to respect them when she says, well, my family needs the money. But trying to explain to her that that's her money and she doesn't need to give it all away and that she's going to need it someday, it wasn't computing because her dementia was starting to, I guess, to make her decline. So then we got involved at the OFA with not just volunteers, and we got her some home help with our laborer program. So then we had another set of eyes in there listening and watching, and the family continued to take her money. So then I had to have a lot of really tough conversations with her because I was her case manager and about what was the next steps. And because the family wasn't going to stop and she wasn't going to stop giving, but her money was going. So she wanted to talk to the bank. The bank was very helpful. So there's another person that's very helpful in all of this because they know part of our building blocks there, and when we found out that there was a lot more money taken than we thought. They had gotten a hold of her new debit card, and because they cut her mail, she didn't know. So they were really taking advantage of her memory issues. So we were able to get that shot closed off and help with that. And then we found out in one of my home visits that they were using her car insurance and she was paying it and she didn't have a car. So we called the insurance company and they were very kind and they worked with us. So I feel like all these people did not want this woman to take advantage of, and everybody was just so very, very helpful. And then we talked to her about going to assisted living to Manor Hills. She really wasn't exceptionally happy about that, but they were very kind and they helped us. And in that process, I ended up finding a niece. She didn't have any children. These were nieces and nephews that were stealing from her. But another niece that had been really close to her and been helping her, but had had surgery. So I said, these people even knew, how to get in. Her memory's getting worse. Her main support's, out for surgery, not able to help as much. They were good. So, so we ended up working with Manor Hills, and they even capped off how much money she could give. So she could still give her family some money, but not all her money. So, and so that all worked out. We were able to get her moved in there, and she is safe. And I've had updates from I always call her the good niece, that she, her money is safe now, and she's doing well and getting along there. So it really, all these people involved and everybody was very, very willing to help. And it was one of our best success stories that we could share. And a couple people, like for consultations, I think we called the Wellsville police because she didn't want to report it, but they were like, yeah, we know those people, So even those collaborations of people willing to talk to us and be helpful. And once APS kind of had her taken care of with OFA, they still were there for consultation. So the whole idea that we all work together is a really big deal. So thank you for listening to my story.
Your success rate, do you track what your success rate is with your
We don't, because success is so subjective.
ambiguous, yeah?
Yeah.
But if somebody doesn't want help, you can't make them get help either.
Yeah, we can't.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the board, I do want to thank you for all the important work you do protecting the health, the safety, the well-being of our seniors. And please do, any chance you got, extend our thanks to all these great agency partners, private and public sector partners. That was a great story because it demonstrates the collaboration that's necessary to do the good work you folks do. A proclamation. Whereas Allegheny County seniors are valued, contributing members to society, imparting a wealth of experience and wisdom in our communities. And whereas 2024 marks the 19th anniversary of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, its recognition will foster a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas each year an estimated 5 million, or 1 in 10, older Americans are victims of elder abuse, neglect, or exploitation. And whereas for each case of elder abuse that is reported, experts believe that nearly 14 cases go unreported. And whereas Allegheny County seniors deserve to live safely and with dignity and as independently as possible with the support they need. And whereas elder abuse is most often defined as any act that harms a senior or jeopardizes their health or welfare. And whereas eliminating abuse to older persons is each community's responsibility, the County of Allegheny is concerned about the risk to our older residents who suffer from neglect or are victims of financial, emotional, or physical abuse. And whereas all our residents should watch for signs of abuse such as physical trauma, withdrawal, depression, anxiety, fear of family members, friends, or caregivers. Now, therefore, in recognition of the Allegheny County Consortium of Elder Abuse Prevention Committee and the many programs serving the elderly throughout Allegheny County, I, W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, do hereby declare the month of June 2024 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month and June 15, 2024 as Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and urge all citizens to commit to building safer communities for our elder residents.
You can cry. I'm on the end. Thank you.
Anything on our desks?
Yes, on your desk is a copy of the report of interfund transfers and tax bill corrections approved by the county administrator in May. You also should have received copies of the 2023 annual reports from the county administrator, coroners, and probation department. We received an invitation to attend the second annual New York State First Responder Wellness Symposium to be held at the SUNY Cortland Corey Union Function Room on August 1st and 2nd. There should be a flyer in your board folder. Pursuant to Article 11 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, County Treasurer Terry Ross filed a certificate of withdrawal for delinquent tax lien for property in the town of Independence in my office on June 5th. We received correspondence dated May 31st from Assemblyman Gilio confirming receipt and support of our resolution number 23524, which supported Assembly Bill A 2126 to provide state aid to the town of New Hudson to compensate the town for the impact of logging on state land operated by the New York State DEC. W. Brooke Harris, Chairman of the Allegheny County Board of Legislators, hereby appoints Bonnie Van Heusen of Rushford, New York, as the Acting Office of Emergency Services Director in the Office of Emergency Services, effective June 10th, 2024, to serve at his pleasure in accordance with the provisions of applicable law. Chairman Harris is also making appointments to the 250th American Revolution Commission. This will be effective immediately and expiring on December 31st, 2027. From the Resource Management Committee, Jennifer Ricketts-Swales and Gretchen Hanchett. The County Administrator Representative will be Mallory Short. The County Board of Legislators Representative will be Chairman Harris. Daughters of the American Revolution Representative, Joan Sinclair. The Allegheny County Historical Society Representative, Darwin Fanton. The Local Educator Representative, Stephen Donlin. And the At-Large Representative 1, Amanda Joyce Phelps. and I understand there will be a few more appointments in coming weeks. Chairman Harris declared June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month and June 15th is Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and he previously read that proclamation.
Resolutions?
Resolution intro number 24024. Creation of one full-time secretary to the county administrator position within the office of the county administrator. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means and Personnel Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by legislator Stockin, second by legislator Fenton. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 24124, creation of one part-time early intervention service coordinator position within the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by legislator Burdick, second by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 24224, creation of one temporary full-time position of office aide for the Office of the Conflict Defender. This resolution is being offered by the Public Safety and Personnel Committees and has both committees' approval.
Mr. Havey makes the motion, second by legislator Rumfeld. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 24324, appointment of one member to the Allegheny County Land Bank Corporation Board of Directors. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development Committee and has committee approval.
Mrs. Root makes the motion, second by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? This resolution can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's approved.
Resolution intro number 24424, reappointment of one member to the Allegheny County Board of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion made by legislator Burdick, second by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? This resolution can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Would anyone care to make a motion to block resolution intro numbers 245 of 24 through 246 of 24? Thank you, Mr. Rumfeld, seconded by legislator Ricky. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's carried.
Resolution intro number 24524, approval of apportionment of mortgage tax to tax districts and authorizing the warrant therefor. Resolution intro number 24624, authorizing payment to towns and villages from additional mortgage tax fee retainage by county clerk, appropriating funds therefor.
Is there a motion to pass those blocked resolutions? Thank you, legislator Hanchett, second by legislator Ricky. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root? Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Those resolutions are approved.
Resolution intro number 24724. Approval of grant application to the United States Environmental Protection Agency State and Tribal Assistance Grant for the Gateway Center to the Western New York Wilds Project, ratifying the chairman of the board's signature on said grant application, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton? Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 24824, approval of grant application to the Department of Transportation Highway Infrastructure Projects for the Canandaigua Historic Bridge Project Phase A, ratifying the chairman of the board's signature on said grant application and authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Root makes the motion, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root? Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 24924. Acceptance and appropriation of the 22-23 Appalachian Regional Commission Area Development Grant Funds for the Allegheny County Comprehensive Sewer Study for the Office of Planning, ratifying the chairman of the board's signature on said grant application and authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root? Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 25024, acceptance and appropriation of the Community Project Funding Grant for the Allegheny County Outdoor Agricultural Community Space Improvements Project for the Office of Planning, ratifying the chairman of the board's signature on said grant application, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant application. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Thank you, legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 25124, acceptance and appropriation of donation funds received by the County of Allegheny through its Department of Social Services from the Zonta Club of Olean and Olean Portville Lions Club for the Child Advocacy Center. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Mr. Healy.
Just a comment. We also provide those services for Cattaraugus County. Is that correct? So we thank them very much for an organization from over there donating funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 25224, reappropriation and reallocation of unspent New York State Department of Health COVID-19 vaccination response grant funds for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Moved by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 25324, reappropriation and reallocation of unspent New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation State Septic System Replacement Program grant funds for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
And that's approved.
Resolution intro number 25424, acceptance and reappropriation of additional funds from the Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity COVID-19 federal grant for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution is approved. Would anyone care to make a motion to block resolution intro numbers 255 of 24 through 256 of 24? Thank you, Mr. Ricky, second by legislator Havey. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that's carried.
Resolution intro number 25524, approval of 2024 Resource Allocation Plan Agreement with the Office of Children and Family Services, authorizing the chairman of the board and the county treasurer to execute said agreement, providing for appropriation of funds when subcontract agreements for youth programs are approved. Resolution intro number 25624, approval of 2024 New York State Office of Children and Family Services subcontract agreements for youth programs, providing program funds, acceptance and appropriation of 2024 municipal youth projects.
Would anyone care to make a motion to pass those blocked resolutions? Motion by legislator Ricketts Swales, second by legislator Burdick. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick? Yes. Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Those resolutions are approved.
Resolution intro number 25724. Approval of amendment to agreement between the County of Allegheny and Total Senior Care Incorporated for the Program for All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly for the Office for the Aging to supply home-delivered meals and congregate meals as requested, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion by legislator Burdick, second by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
That resolution is approved. Seeking a motion to block resolution intro numbers 258 of 24 through 263 of 24. Thank you, Mr. Ricky. Second by legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's carried.
Resolution intro number 25824, approval of renewal agreement between the County of Allegheny and the New York State Department of Health for Allegheny County Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 25924, approval of memorandum of understanding between the County of Allegheny and Parent Education Program Incorporated for Healthy Families Allegheny Cattaraugus Program for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said memorandum of understanding. Resolution intro number 26024, approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Environmental Education Associates Incorporated for lead poisoning prevention training for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 26124, approval of lease agreement between the County of Allegheny and the Allegheny County Agricultural Society for the fair booths at the Allegheny County Fair for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 26224, approval of lease agreement between the County of Allegheny and the Cuba Fire Department to operate the Cuba Congregate Luncheon Center for the Office for the Aging, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Resolution intro number 26324, approval of agreement between County of Allegheny and Home and Health Care Services for in-home care services for the elderly for the Office for the Aging, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. These resolutions are being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion to pass these blocked resolutions made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Yes. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Those resolutions are approved.
Resolution intro number 26424. Approval of amended agreement between the County of Allegheny and the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the State Septic System Replacement Program, establishment of a new cost center A8121 for the administration of the Upper Genesee River Septic Replacement Program, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Motion to consider made by legislator Hanchett, second by legislator Healy. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried. And on the resolution itself, the motion is made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld? 14 ayes, 1 absent.
And that's approved.
Resolution intro number 26524. Approval of budget modification in relation to 911 emergency advanced life support services provided for the county by Allegheny, for the County of Allegheny by Medical Transport Service Incorporated. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Motion to consider made by legislator Fanton, seconded by legislator Havey. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's approved. And on the resolution itself, the motion's made by legislator Stockin. Is there a second? Thank you, legislator Fanton. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
Resolution's approved. How do you prefer the reading of the audit today?
Collectively and by totals, please.
So moved by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Fanton. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That's carried.
General government support, $394,115.27. Education, $552,682.36. Public safety, $173,780.78. Health, $141,603. Bus transportation, $71,073.29. Economic assistance and opportunity, $1,223,550.99. Culture and recreation, $11,519.24. Home and community services, $154,985.89. Our general fund totaled $2,723,310.82. Payroll and taxes totaled $2,616,616.02. Capital funds totaled $643,943.87. Our other funds totaled $2,277,013.96 for a grand total of $8,260,884.67.
Is there a motion to approve the audit? Motion by legislator Havey, seconded by legislator Curran. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Stockin? Yes. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Yes. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
14 ayes, 1 absent.
The audit is approved. there anything for the good of the order today? Mr. Healy?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that this coming weekend, June 14th through the 16th, is Cuba Dairy Days. I believe the parade starts at 3 o'clock on Saturday, and that further information can be obtained off the Western New York Wilds website or the Chamber of Commerce itself. And I encourage everyone to get over to Cuba and participate and drink a little milk. Thank you.
You lost me at milk. You had me a drink, lost me at milk. Mr. Stocking?
I would also like to remind people who might be listening, on June 22nd, Saturday, is the second annual Seneca Canyandia Field Day. Great time with the Native Americans who used to live on this territory. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would, for the good of the order, just like to recognize one of our county's youth, a young lady by the name, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Grace Harris, was recognized last night with an MVP award in alpine skiing at the Alfred Almond Sports Banquet. I'm sure she's got a bright future ahead of her, despite her upbringing. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, as there appears to be no other business to come before this board today, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by legislator Rumfeld, seconded by legislator Ricky. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, and we're adjourned.